In today's video, we're going to talk about what I'm seeing on the landscape for lawsuits, what I'm seeing on the landscape for debt settlement, what I'm seeing on the landscape for statute of limitations debt that debt collectors are buying, and some of the rules that they continue to violate according to the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act when trying to collect on debt that is past statute of limitations / time barred debt. And then we're going to talk about removing charge-off. This is a strategy that I came up with, but it is actually working very well, and you can put this into place, into action, to be able to get charge-offs removed from your credit reports. Sometimes it will take a little bit more work than other times, but I'm going to explain to you in detail how that works. So first, let's just start off. My name is Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of the creditrepairshop.com. My company specializes in helping people repair their credit and get out of debt. Now, repairing credit and getting out of debt, that's what we do. But what I've learned over the years is that it's not about repairing the credit and getting out of debt. It's about having people be able to get out of the pain of what having bad credit and having too much debt brings into their life. So it's about avoiding those problems, avoiding those situations, getting out of those problems and getting out of those situations so it can give people relief. So it's not just about repairing credit. It's not just about getting out of debt. It's about giving people their power back, giving people relief, giving people the ability to be able to avoid putting themselves in a situation that's going to affect their livelihood or the way that their family is going to be able to advance in the future. That's what it's about. So let's talk about topic number one, lawsuits. What I'm starting to see on the landscape, and I believe that that's a direct result of the good work that we've put in and other people who do this, it's not just me, on helping people fight debt collection lawsuits. Now, for a debt collector to be able to sue you in court, this is all they got to do. This is all they got to do. So if you messed up on one of these steps, this is how you end up in court getting sued. So step number one is that they have to send a demand letter. They have to send a demand letter to you. That demand letter gives you the opportunity to dispute any or all of that debt. And they're notifying you that they've purchased that debt from the original creditor. So it has to have a few things on there. It has to identify them. It has to identify the previous owner of the debt. It has to give you the opportunity to pay if you want to pay it, and also the opportunity to dispute any or all of the debt. And it has to be the same, like the font can't change and have small print where it says you could dispute some or all. All of that whole sheet has to be the same. And they have to let you know that. They construct those letters to make you think that you just have to pay, but if you read them, it's just called, legally it's called a dunning letter, and it's just to let you know that they've purchased that debt. That's really all that letter is a demand letter. But that is step number one requirement for them to be able to get to the ultimate pain point that you want to avoid, which is them suing you in court. Step number two, if you don't respond to that letter, even if you owe the debt, you can respond to it and just lock everything up for 90 days where they can't put it on your credit. They can't do anything. That 90-day dispute window, and you could resolve it or do whatever you need to do within that 90 days. If you don't respond to it, they can put that on your credit reports within 30 days. And they actually hint that on there. So now the next thing that they will do, which is another pain point that you want to avoid, because they're using this strategy. See, these debt collection companies, they're not just in the business like, oh, we started up a debt collection company. They break down every step that they could utilize in the system to be able to bring you pain, to put pain on you, either with your credit reports, which you seeing that your scores are dropping when you put in all that hard work to lift your scores up, to have your credit in a certain position. They're going to use all of these pain points. So the next one is, if they put it on your credit reports, they will actually put it on there as an account. And you might even see your score go up, because what I've seen them do is to put a little green like you made a payment. You're like, I never made a payment to them. But they will do that. And they do that on purpose because what they're going to do is if you do not contact them when they call and they don't make contacts with you, they're going to mark that off and then your score is going to drop. So first, when they have it on there as their name and it just says account, that doesn't necessarily hurt your credit. But soon as they put take off the payment and put on there that it's a collection, your score will just slam down because the algorithm is going to read it that way. This is what they started to do to people. So that some people see, oh, I got the collection on there and I never made a payment to them. They got it a little green like I made a payment. That's because they're preparing to try to hurt you. So now the next step that you need to be aware of is that once it's on your credit reports, they're going to start contacting you, and there is something called a 7-in-7 rule. That means that they can only call you one time per day for 7 days. And then they have to just start it all over again. If you answer the call, even if you say, I cannot pay you, that's an engagement, and they have to wait to call you again after 7 days. So if they call you 1, 2, 3, you answer, I can't pay you, they have to wait all the way until another 7 days, and then they can call you. Your voicemail is not an engagement. If they send you a text, that is considered a contact. Phone call that you don't answer, that's a contact. Social media or email, that's a contact. They cannot email you at your employment email, your job email. They cannot unless you give them permission. So they cannot try to just dive into your employer's email box for you. They can't do that. But all of those, until they talk to you, that is just a contact. When they actually speak to you, that's an engagement. So keep that in mind. That's an engagement because the debt collectors don't think that they don't believe that you would know this information, and that because if you knew it, you can actually get the debt forgiven. Like they violated. Even if you owe the debt and they've proven it everything, or they're collecting it for they're collecting it for the original creditor and they violate on that, that specific debt will not be able to be collected because of the violations that debt collector did. Now, some of the things that you can do to step it up on there, and I'm going to give you a letter at the end of this, so don't go nowhere. I'm going to give you a letter at the end of this that's going to help you with this, is that you would ask that in that debt validation, when you get that first letter from them and you do a debt validation on that debt, is you want to make sure that an attorney reviewed it. The reason why you want to make sure an attorney reviewed it is because whatever they believe on there, this is like you working ahead of them if they're looking at taking you to court to sue you, is that you want to make sure that attorney is going to review everything about that, because they have to do that before they take it to court. But if you never ask them to do it, they can just take you to court based off the documents that they have. Now, the Supreme Court says all they got to do is a couple of statements and show the path of the processing of the paperwork on when the debt was transferred or signed or purchased, whatever they want to call it, to them. That's all they got to do. But if you challenge it from that attorney. So you're going to make them have to assign an attorney, because that attorney is going to have to follow that debt. Because they can't just have one of the attorneys show up there and just say, hey, I've looked at all of the documentation, which is the way that they usually do it, is they just have one attorney that's going to see everybody's stuff. Hey, I work for this collector, that collector. You know, you've been in there. They call people up, and that attorney is sitting there, and they're just asking, what are you going to do about it? Because people don't know their rights, they just get away with it. But when you know your rights, and you ask that attorney, hey, well, I want everything to prove about this debt if you're in court, but you can actually head this off early. If you just listen to me, you can stop this early from happening to you, because they're going to know that you're serious. So, but I'm going to help you with that later on in the video. Now, something that I'm seeing with debt settlement, on the debt settlement landscape, boy, I'm telling you, listen to me on this, because this is going to help you avoid so much pain when it comes to if you have to settle a debt. What they're doing, because I talked to these companies, I've talked to the lawyers, I've talked to the paralegals, I've talked to the representatives. my company, we are deeply involved in this because we want to help save our clients. And when I make these videos, save you the pain of having to deal with these people, because it can be painful. People, I've had clients feel like they're going to have a heart attack. I just settled with a client yesterday. I when I would talk to this gentleman, it was like he was going to have a heart attack. I'm like, man, I shifted and was like, I'm going to handle the settlement. I know it may not seem like that door is open, but we're going to settle this before it goes to court. And he was like, I just can't see it. I don't know, man. I said, I just let me talk to you right now on a personal level. On a personal level. Remember when I started this video, I said it's about avoiding the pain. Avoiding the pain, it could be any amount of money. It could be something that's going to happen. Pain is pain. And so what these debt collection companies are doing, and these original creditors, is that they are ratcheting up the way that they want to come after people for debt. And you have to have an experienced person or company, someone who knows what to say with these people, because they are really putting it up against the wall. These companies have made a lot of money, but they need to make more money. That's just the way it is. They are not used to losing. And when they get to losing, they're not going to just sit there and just take it. What they're going to do is they're going to make adjustments. They're going to make adjustments to be able to ratchet up the pain, ratchet up their ability to be able to win in court. They're going to do everything because they don't want to lose the money. They're not in business to lose money. They're not in business to say we win some games and lose some games. They're not in that business. So don't let anyone tell you that. They're in the business of trying to win 100% of the cases that they put in front of the court. 100%. And the strategies that they're using is that they will garnish if you are W-2. And if you're not a W-2 and you own a business, you better watch out, because they will dip right into your bank account. I had a client, $25,000 right out of his bank account. And if you're not a W-2 and you own a business, when they take it out of the business account, they do not have to leave any money for you to pay your bills. At least, at minimum, when you're a W-2 worker, they got to leave you money to pay your bills. But when you're a business owner, they can just come and just swipe all of it. Waking up in the morning and $25,000 swiped out of your account. Legally swiped out of your account. Think about the pain that someone would be going through, waking up in the morning and $25,000 swiped out of the account. So let's talk about what we got to do to protect ourselves. So number one, with the debt settlement, when you're dealing with the debt settlement, is that once you open up that negotiation, you have to stay on that negotiation. You got to keep calling whoever they assign for your debt. You got to keep calling them. Even if they don't answer and they don't engage, you got to call, you got to email. And then if you have to take it a step further when you're negotiating, you should even send a letter to the original creditor if they're working for the original creditor, because you want to make sure that information is getting to them. You got to make sure, because what I suspect is happening now, which was something that they had taken away in the past, is that they are now getting commission. And you went into the car dealership and or went into Best Buy or went into any one of the places and they say, hey, here's a computer, and they'll be like, we're not making no commission. But you always thought, hey, I know in the past y'all were getting commission. They took commission away because people were like, the reason why I'm getting this deal is because you're making that commission. Well, now they had taken it away with debt collection companies, not because they cared about them making the commission. It's because the debt collection paralegals and the representatives that were calling people were saying anything to get the money because they were going to make a big commission. That's the reason why they took it away. But we know how times change, time passes, and all of a sudden, what goes around comes right back around like it's something new, but it was not anything new. And I believe from the conversations that I'm having and the type of fight that is being put up by these companies is that they have the commission put back in place. And as a matter of fact, if you go look online, there are several news blogs that are stating that debt collection companies are going back to that model. keeps their paralegals and keeps their representatives more engaged on wanting to collect the debt, because it's going to give them ability to make more income. Now, let's talk about statute of limitations debt, aka time barred debt. Now, one of the things that I had a YouTube question on about statute of limitations debt, and the question was, if a debt collector calls you and they do not tell you that the debt that they're trying to collect is a time-barred debt, what do I do next? Well, what you do next is that you notify them once you made sure that the debt was time-barred, or AKA also known as statute of limitations, that the debt is past the statute of limitations to collect. So this is what you need to understand when it deals with time-barred debt. This is like the bottom line to make it simple and easy for you, is that if you know that the debt is past the legal statute of limitations for them to be able to collect, and you may not know that when you initially get the call, but you will know it when you go to check on it. You look on your credit reports. That's where it's going to be. And you need to get paid credit monitoring, because that's where it's going to have that on there. Or if you know when your last payment was, because the statute of limitations clock starts to tick from the last payment.
Returning visitor.
So let's just say your statute of limitations is 4 years, and the last payment that you made to the original creditor was 4 years and 1 day. They cannot call you and say that they're trying to collect on that debt without saying this is an attempt to collect a time-barred debt. They have to say that. Now, they don't have to say statute of limitations. This is an attempt to collect a debt that's past legal statute of limitations to collect. Because if they said that, then you'd be like, well, shit, I'm not paying anything. I'm not paying any of it. But if they say, well, this is an attempt to collect a time-barred debt, and, you know, that right there, that throws people off. And so what you could do, now the question was, so if they didn't say it and I know the debt is past legal statute of limitations, well, then what do I need to do? What you need to do is you need to write them a certified letter stating that they did not state that the debt that they were attempted to collect was past the legal statute of limitations or time-barred period to collect. And that you can also remind them that you know that the call was recorded. You do that, they're going to cancel out that debt. Trust me. Next question that I had was removing charge-offs. And the strategy that I had came up with, which is really it's like a secret that's right there in front of our face. It's, you know, if you put two and two together, I think that you would logically think that this is the right thing for any creditor to do. So now let's just say you have a debt with the original creditor and you pay that debt for less. You give them the money for less. If you look on your credit reports, if you've ever done this before, you'll be able to validate what I'm about to tell you. Look on your credit reports and see what they put on there. They would just say settled for less or paid for less. They wouldn't say you paid it for less. They wouldn't say, you know, we negotiated with him or her and they paid it for less. They don't say any they in there. They just state paid for less. So what it is, and this is the reason why. It's only a data entry giving an update on the account. So if they sell your debt to a debt collector, sell your debt to a debt collector. Keyword, sell your debt to a debt collector. How do you know they sold it to a debt collector? Because you receive a letter that they sold it to a debt collector. So if you receive a letter that they sold your debt to a debt collector, that means that they took whatever amount of money they took for your debt. So at minimum, option number one that you would give your original creditor the option of putting is that paid for less on there. They could put that on there because they accepted payment for less on that debt. If I was to settle your debt for you with the original creditor, and you paid that debt, they would put paid for less. They wouldn't put you paid it for less. Now, I know what you might be saying. Well, they're implying it. They're implying that if they put paid for less, that you paid it. Okay, well then let's think about it this way. What if you have a mortgage? This maybe happened to some of you before. And you had a mortgage and then they sold it to another company. What would they put on there? Do they say that you went out and got a loan, or say you went out and refinanced it and you paid it off? Do they say you paid it off, or do they say that it was paid in full? Or if it was sold, what do they put? Sold. So what they're actually doing, this is where we caught them, is that they're not actually reporting the information as it actually happened. They're just really not even doing nothing about having that charge off on your credit reports. They're just saying that it was charged off or written off or maybe sold. But when they say they can say sold on there, but they usually don't put sold when it was sold to a debt collector. What they would have to say, if they put sold on there, that would actually help your credit, but we don't see it that way. What they'll put is that it was transferred or some other way, but they're not actually identifying that it was sold to another company, which is in actuality, they accepted payment for less. So option number one, you want to get them to put paid for less. Option number one. That's going to help your scores go up. That's going to show that that whatever way it was resolved, that's the way it was resolved. Option number two, you could just say, why don't you just remove all the information on there because you've been reporting this inaccurate. I got documents from the company stating that they paid you for this debt. What are they going to say? We did not accept payment for the debt. You did accept payment for the debt. It does not matter the amount. You accepted payment for the debt. You've been reporting inaccurate. On the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act is about reporting. It's about the status of an account. Are you reporting it accurately? That's what it's about. It's not about, the exchange of the money and all that. It's about whatever happened. Are you reporting it accurately on the reports? That's all it comes down to. And so option number one, you can put that it was paid for less. That's reporting it accurately. You accepted the money from them. Number two, you can just remove it all because you've been reporting it inaccurate this whole time. Yes, it was a charged off account, but you have to change the way that account is being reported because you accepted a payment on that. You accepted a payment. I didn't negotiate the payment that you accepted. You negotiated the payment. You felt whatever you sold it for is what you wanted to sell it for. So keep that in mind. You can get those charge-offs removed. They might, go back and forth a little with you, but it can get removed. All right. If you need help with your credit, please visit us at thecreditrepairshop.com. Watch video What Makes a Difference, so you can see my 8-point validation process, my two-phase settlement process. If you need your credit reports and scores, go to the website, yournumber3scores.com. Grab your TransUnion, Equifax, Experian credit reports and all 3 scores. If you have debt collectors coming after you, this is that letter that I promised you. Grab my cease and desist collection activities letter, debt validation letter, and statute of limitations letter. The instructions are on there. I do ask for a donation on those, but it will save you time, money, and frustration. Thank you for your time. This is Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of thecreditrepairshop.com. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, post your questions and comments. Thank you.